There is a moment when life stops explaining itself to you. No warning, no apology. One day the ground that held you simply loosens, and the noise around you continues as if nothing happened. You feel it first as confusion, then as fatigue, then as a quiet surrender you never agreed to. This is not drama. This is the absence of care. The silence where answers used to live. People drift. Systems fail. Promises dissolve without ceremony. What once felt solid reveals itself as temporary shelter. You realize how much of your strength was borrowed from comfort, routine, and reassurance. When those vanish, so does the version of you that depended on them. Modern life taught you to expect cushioning. Ancient men were never given that illusion. This is where exhaustion becomes honest. You stop pretending you are fine. You stop explaining yourself to a world that has already moved on. There is grief here, but it is quiet. It does not beg, it watches. Suffering enters without announcing itself as a teacher. It does not motivate, it reveals. It strips away the false agreements you made with life, that effort guarantees reward, that patience guarantees fairness. What remains is raw awareness. You are here. Life is indifferent. And strangely, this is where stability begins. Not comfort, clarity, the kind that only arrives when the world withdraws its hand and waits to see what you will become. Miyamoto Musashi was abandoned early, shaped not by guidance but by absence. No safety net, no voice telling him he was special. His childhood was not tragic in a poetic sense, it was simply unforgiving. Hunger, isolation, and uncertainty were not chapters to overcome. They were the landscape. He did not ask why he was alone, he accepted that he was. Solitude, for Musashi, was not a wound to be healed. It was a forge. Heat without comfort. Silence without reassurance. This is where modern men misunderstand pain. They call it loneliness, when it is actually the removal of dependency. Loneliness begs to be filled. Self-reliance stands without asking. Life's indifference did not begin with you, and it will not end with you. It is ancient, universal. Musashi did not personalize hardship. He did not turn it into an identity. He treated it as terrain. You do not curse the mountain for being steep. You learn how to climb. Modern pain feels sharper because expectation is heavier. You were taught to believe effort would be noticed, that struggle would be rewarded. Musashi expected nothing. That is why he was never betrayed by reality. Survival begins the moment illusions die. When you stop waiting to be understood, rescued, or affirmed. When you stand alone without drama, you begin to see clearly, and clarity, not comfort, is what keeps you alive. Expectation is the quiet architect of disappointment. Not hope, but the belief that life owes you a certain outcome. You carry an invisible contract inside. You work hard, be patient, endure, and something will arrive to make it worth it. When it doesn't, resentment grows. Not because life is cruel, but because you believed it was fair. Musashi never negotiated with reality. He did not ask the world to soften its edges. He understood something most men learn too late. Mercy is not a feature of existence. Nature does not reward intention. Time does not pause for effort. The world responds only to alignment and action. Let go of what should have been. That phrase poisons the mind. It keeps you trapped in a parallel life that never existed. Strength begins the moment you release the fantasy of fairness. Not with anger, but with neutrality. Emotional neutrality is power. It allows you to see without distortion. Hope feels noble, but it weakens when it replaces responsibility. Musashi replaced hope with preparedness. He trained not because he believed he would win, but because readiness was the only honest position. When you stop expecting rescue, you stop feeling abandoned. The world has not turned against you. It was never on your side. This realization is not bleak. It is stabilizing. You no longer waste energy negotiating with the void. You build where you stand. You act without applause. Strength does not need optimism. It needs clarity. And clarity arrives when expectation finally loosens its grip. A sword is not born sharp. It is shaped by repetition, pressure, and heat. The inner sword is no different. Discipline is not intensity. It is consistency when no one is watching, when nothing is rewarded, when motivation is absent. This is where most men fail, not from lack of desire, but from lack of structure. Musashi trained in obscurity. No audience, no validation. He understood that mastery grows in silence. You do not rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your habits. Daily discipline creates internal order in a chaotic world. When everything outside feels unstable, Your routine becomes your ground. Motivation is emotional. Structure is neutral. Choose neutrality. Train even when you feel empty, especially then. The inner sword is forged when excuses lose their voice. When you stop asking if you feel like it. When you act because this is who you decided to be. Dependability begins inward. Before others trust you, you must become reliable to yourself. Keep small promises. Wake when you said you would. Work when no one checks. This builds a quiet self-respect that cannot be shaken by external chaos. The world does not need to believe in you. You do not need to announce your progress. The blade sharpens whether anyone sees it or not. And one day, without drama, you realize you are no longer fragile. Not because life became easier, but because you became structured enough to withstand it. Solitude can harden you or refine you. The difference is bitterness. Bitterness turns isolation into armor that cuts inward. Musashi walked alone without resentment. He did not reject the world. He simply did not cling to it. There is a difference between detachment and numbness. Detachment observes without hatred. Numbness avoids feeling altogether. The first is strength. The second is decay. Musashi remained calm in both praise and insult, because neither defined him. When you stop feeding on approval, criticism loses its teeth. Observe life instead of wrestling it. Most exhaustion comes from resistance, from demanding things be different. Quiet confidence grows when you accept what is, without surrendering who you are. You move deliberately. You speak less. You listen more. Strength that announces itself is compensating. Real strength is almost invisible. It does not need witnesses. It does not explain. It acts when necessary and rests without guilt. Walking alone does not mean closing your heart. It means not outsourcing your stability. Bitterness is born when you believe you were denied something promised. Release the promise. No one stole your life. It is unfolding exactly as it is meant to without commentary. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are simply in the quiet stretch where character is formed. Walk alone, but remain open. Calm, but not cold. Self-contained, not isolated. This balance is rare. It is also unshakable. Life is not a series of crises. It is a continuous duel. The mistake is waiting for calm before acting. Musashi understood that the battlefield is not chosen. It is entered. Fighting reality drains energy. Flowing with it sharpens perception. Adaptability kept Musashi alive. Different weapons, different terrains, same center. He did not cling to form. He adjusted without panic. Emotional overreaction is the real danger. It blinds judgment and wastes strength. Acceptance is not passivity. It is grounded awareness. When you stop arguing with what is happening, you free energy to respond. Calm perception becomes a survival skill. You see openings others miss because they are busy reacting. Stand firm without aggression. Aggression leaks fear. Stillness holds power. When you accept the battle you are already in, you stop fantasizing about escape. You work with what is in front of you. One step, one decision. No dramatization. You do not need to win today. You need to remain intact. Presence over performance. Precision over force. The battle is not proof of failure. It is evidence of life. Musashi did not ask for easier fights. He refined his mind. Accept where you stand. Accept the weight you carry. Then move without complaint. This is how endurance is built. Quietly, deliberately, without wasting breath on resistance. When life stops caring, stop asking it to. This is not surrender. It is freedom. Self-worth untethered from outcome cannot be shaken. Musashi's final understanding was not dominance, but inner release. Peace that does not negotiate with circumstance. Indifference to indifference is the final armor. You act without expectation. You rest without guilt. You move forward without fear of being unseen. Nothing needs to validate you. Nothing can diminish you. This is not numbness. It is clarity without attachment. You are present, but not dependent. Engaged, but not entangled. Life continues to be uncertain, but it no longer destabilizes you. You walk forward without bitterness. There is no triumph here. No victory music. Only quiet strength. The kind that endures. You do not announce survival. You embody it. The world may never care again, and that is fine. You are no longer asking it to. This is the calm Musashi carried. Not hope, not despair, just alignment. You stand, you breathe, you act when required, and when nothing responds, you remain steady. That is unshakable survival.